oral vaccine. That means we have completed vaccine till yesterday, and we are going through the application part of biotechnology. There are various applications over there. The areas where the applications that also we have seen the session day before yesterday, and one session, I mean one application we have completed actually. That application is the healthcare application. In healthcare application, we have seen two important things. You remember what are the things we have seen there under healthcare? What are the main points we have seen? At least, come on, tell me. Write there in the chat box if you remember. Yeah, very good. So we have written. I mean, we have seen about insulin, human insulin. We have seen, and after that, in yesterday's session, we have seen what? We have seen vaccines. Okay, what is this insulin? Is it a vaccine? Is it a vaccine? Insulin is a vaccine or something else? No idea. No idea. If you don't know the answer, then you at least you write that you don't know the answer. What is this insulin? Not vaccine. Okay. Okay, I do agree that it's not vaccine. Then what it is? Mm-hmm. Now you just see a quick review of the topic. So far we have completed. Disease, very bad. Okay. Now see, health and agriculture we have seen together. We will come to this point later. Then environment, industry. So all these things we have covered. We are going to cover one after the other. And here the various areas of biotechnology we have seen. Then the medical field, that is healthcare field. There we have seen that is about the diagnostic product or vaccines. Then this outcome of biotechnology we have seen. Then we have seen then what we have seen? We have seen all these points, the forensic medicine and so on, so areas we covered, and the whole outcome we have seen. And after that, we came to human insulin. Now you see this this slide and tell me what is insulin. Yes, my question is that what is insulin? Is it a vaccine? Somebody said it's not vaccine. Then what it is? Yes, yes, you got it now. Yes, you got it. It means you are not reading your textbook. Am I right? You are not reading your textbook. After this lecture, whose lecture is there? Whose lecture is there after this? That also don't know. No lecture. I know that you have lecture till evening. And even nowadays it is up to 6 o'clock. Even after that, I don't know. Yeah, that is there. What I want to say that The one lecture, early morning 7:30 one lecture, from there bio lecture, then after that another lecture. This is going on till 6 o'clock, and you are getting tired and you are not reading a book. You are not reading the book. Yes, you are not reading the book. That is why you are not able to catch the answer. Because this insulin hormone, when we discuss it in detail, so I asked many questions. And even that time we said another hormone, which is not at all related with insulin. But still, we said the name of the hormone, antidiuretic hormone. You only said that ADH and all. That means, what is insulin, that already we have seen, but still you are not remembering. The reason is that you are not reading the book. And the video of these lectures, no, I'm not posting these days immediately. Till 31st of July, everything is posted there in the classroom. But in the August month, no, I just kept it as it is. Because many people, they are not attending the lectures and they're just waiting for the video or some other reason. So I thought, oh, I will post it later only. I just just keeping all these lectures like that. So you have only one option to understand, that is you have to read the textbook. And that also, I am not running fast. Even though I am living there in Vasai Virar area, I am not a Virar double fast, super fast. I am a dead slow train. Very slow. I'm just taking 1 or 2 paragraphs per day. Yesterday's you just look at, day before yesterday's just look at how much I'm covering. Just not even one page, not even one column of the page. I'm taking little bit only, but I am talking. Explanation part that I'm executing. But still you are not ready to cope up. That is why this problem comes. Okay. So insulin is a hormone. It's a hormone, and where it has been produced, they produce it by the beta cells of islets of Langerhans of pancreas. And the function of this hormone also we have seen. And deficiency of this hormone leads to what? That also we have seen. So all these things we have seen in the last session. And after that, in yesterday's session, in 1 second. Yeah. In yesterday's session, we have seen the production of human insulin, we have seen. After that, we have seen another important area under the healthcare, that is what is called vaccines. Okay, all these things we have seen. So I don't want to repeat all these things. I'm straightway going to yesterday's session, that is vaccine production. Now in yesterday's session, we have seen what is vaccine and from where we are getting it. And all those things we have seen, and some diseases also we have seen, which are deadly diseases, but today we could eradicate to some extent. So that also we have seen. Now we have seen this also, that today we are struggling because of a vaccine, because of a virus for which there is no vaccine. And people are undergoing, the research is going on it. And we hope that we will get the vaccine at the earliest. And this we have seen. After that, we have seen there are 2 types of vaccines in relation to biotechnology. That is called recombinant vaccines. And these recombinant vaccines, 2 times we have seen, that is called protein vaccine, and the other one is called DNA vaccine. Am I right? I'm not asking so many questions to you nowadays. You don't like the continuous, means if I'm not asking questions, you don't like it. I will ask questions. I want to enter in today's session. That is why I'm going little quickly. So I'm going quickly. Now, then after that, we have seen oral vaccines. Oral vaccines, what we have seen yesterday. Come on, you tell me. Oral vaccine, what we have seen. What is these oral vaccines? Yes, polio drops you are giving oral only. Okay, that polio drops we simply call. Okay, what do you mean by these oral vaccines, which according to the topic yesterday what we said? You don't remember what we said yesterday? Idea. These are the 5 points we have seen yesterday under oral vaccines. How to produce edible vaccine. But we have seen that the pathogen which is responsible for the certain diseases, and there we can notice that the immunogenic protein is active when we administer it orally. So we have to find out the gene which is responsible for this immunogenic protein. And that immunogenic protein, that gene you have to isolate. And then you have to construct that gene. Once that gene is constructed, transfer that one into a plant genome. Mostly the plant we are using, which are using as for eating purpose or for vegetable or whatever. So into that plant, you have to insert that gene. And finally, that particular immunogenic protein producing gene become part of that plant genome. And when the plant genome expressing their character, the gene which you transferred, that also will express. That means that gene is producing this kind of immunogenic proteins. And that immunogenic protein now is a part of the plant. That means if you are taking the fruit of that plant, in the fruit of the plant, that immunogenic protein is there. If you are consuming the leaf of the plant, in that leaf, this particular protein is there. And suppose if you want to provide this protein to any animal or to human beings, already I said to human beings, if to any animal. For example, if you want to introduce that gene into cow, cow eating grass. So in the grass, this particular gene has to be inserted. When the cow eats grass, along with the grass, this protein also will enter into the body of the cow. That means we can say the cow is got vaccinated against this disease causing germ, disease causing pathogen. So human beings can get it in this manner. Any animals you can provide in this manner. But that is actually vaccine, but that is produced by the genes. And this kind of gene, vaccines, we can say edible vaccines. And when you have the food, when the animal consuming eating the grass and so on, this material, these vaccines can enter into their body. And finally, we can say that that animal, whether it is human beings or any other animal, got vaccinated against that particular pathogen. So this is what is called edible vaccines. Is it clear to you, friends? Now you see in this slide, you are seeing the picture of many fruits. Here, the human edible vaccines they are talking about. This slide is talking about human edible vaccines. For example, this particular vaccine producing gene, you inserted into a banana plant. When you have the banana fruit, along with the banana fruit, you are getting that vaccine. Or if it is inserted into carrot, when you have the carrot, along with the carrot, you get it. Or if it is there in all fruits and vegetables, when you consume these vegetables and fruits, your body is getting vaccinated. Okay, so this is what is called edible vaccines. Examination point of view, you have to study it very well. Okay, so this is about edible vaccines. Now, after that, we have seen that is called melt in the mouth vaccines. So melt in the mouth vaccines, what we have seen, come on, tell me, please write there in the chat box. Low cost. Okay. So melt in the mouth vaccines, simple. You just see that you are buying bubble gum. Bubble gum you are buying and keeping there in the mouth and keep on chewing. The same way, you take one small piece of this, keep it under the mouth. I mean, under the tongue. What will happen to it? It slowly melts. It slowly melts, and finally, that will enter directly into the bloodstream. So directly getting into the bloodstream, and then it can go anywhere in the body, everywhere in the body. So simple. So this melt in the mouth vaccine is very, very easy to administer. And second thing we have seen that it is of low cost. And third one is then easy to store. An example we have seen the production of flu vaccine by Bacillus. So these are the things we have seen yesterday in yesterday's session. Okay, and today we are going to see the next topic in your textbook. It is part 3. That means C it is. Second is agriculture, but I don't want to go to agriculture. Gene therapy, that is related to healthcare, and so immediately after healthcare, I am taking gene therapy. Once the gene therapy is over, we will go to agriculture. Okay. Now, before that, just a minute. Just a minute. Okay. Now, what is gene therapy? Is very simple. Now, let us see what is gene therapy. Now, gene therapy, we can say that. Now, you see, we know that in our body, whether it is animal or plant, DNA is there. In the DNA, there are so many genes, and genes representing many characteristics. But in case of what I can say, genes, sometimes we can notice that the genes are not expressing their character in the proper manner, maybe because of it is damaged, or some kind of abnormalities we can say maybe produced there in the body because of what I can say, certain reasons. There is, I mean, due to or related to genes. Certain reasons related to genes. It may be a hereditary disease or so and so reason. So if the diseases you face, the abnormalities you face, if it is due to, I mean, if it is related to genes, in today's world, you can do something with the genes to get it corrected. And this correction can be done by different manner. For example, if a gene that is functioning in an abnormal manner, reason malfunction. I mean, malfunctioning. Malfunctioning is due to damage. That means damage. What you can say, that is called, I mean, damage. The gene got damaged. So if the gene is damaged, no doubt you have to replace that gene. Now, you know that if you have a bad, some electric device at your home, for example, you have your mobile. You see the mobile is not functioning properly. What you do then, you will check it, what is the problem. And if any part is damaged, you have to replace that part. So the same manner, in gene therapy, what we do, if any gene functioning abnormally and such defective gene, we can say defective gene, that has to be replaced. Or the problem can be due to certain, we have to alter the gene. Some kind of alteration we have to do. For the alteration, replacing, both are different. Alteration means, now you just imagine that you got a mobile and it is under warranty. It got damaged. I'm sorry, it is not functioning. So you are going to the service center. They are saying that, okay, this part is not functioning properly. This is defective. You have to replace it. So either you will replace that part which is defective, or you will replace that entire mobile. So that is, the defective part is completely replaced. A new one is inserted over there. That is replacing. Now altering means what? You see, you are going to the service center. Service center said that something is damaged there. They will say, we will repair it. So in repairing, the part is not going to be replaced. The part is not going to be changed. The part will be the same as it is. But on that, they are going to do some kind of manipulations. That is what we see altering. So either you replace the gene to solve the issue, to solve the disease, or you alter the gene, make changes in the gene. Not removing the gene, you are not placing new gene over there, but you are, what you can say, you are making some changes in that. Okay. And third point is that, suppose you know that your local train or the train which you are taking to your village, you see that is running on one engine. But at the same time, some goods train, if you observe, you can say that they have two engines. Why? Why they are carrying two engines? Because the load is so heavier. So to get pulled, they need two engines. Some places you can see push-pull train is there. At the front end, one engine is there, back end, one engine is there. That means that is the additional engine they are using for smooth functioning. Same manner, what we can do there, we can supplement a gene. Already gene is there, and we can supplement the gene. So three things we can do there in gene therapy. The gene can be replaced. Okay. Yeah. So the gene can be replaced, or the gene can be altered, can be corrected, can be modified, can be rectified. Third thing is that you can add an additional supplement. Add an additional gene. That means supplementary gene. Okay. Wherever you see that is absent, abnormal, or whose absence or abnormality is responsible for the disease. So this is what is called gene therapy. So wherever due to the absence of a gene you face the problem, or wherever you face the you face the problem because of abnormality in the gene, there you can replace, you can alter, or you can supplement the gene, and this is what is called gene therapy. You understood it? What is gene therapy? How many terms I said in this? How many terms you have to remember? Terms means how many technical words? 3 technical words. Okay, what are they? Replace, yeah, good. Alter, then supplement. RAS. Okay, replace, alter, or supplement. So that way, the what you can say, the gene issue can be solved, and that is what is called a gene therapy. Okay. Now look at the next point over there. Now, what do you observe over there? It is a method to correct a gene defect in a child or embryo. That means this gene therapy is very much functionable. That depends upon the time when you do the what you can say, replacement or whatever alterations. That means if it is a child, you can see that this is the good method to do it. Or even in the embryo it is done, it is very simple, that problem could be solved. Because any kind of change in the gene, you know, that is hereditary. Any kind of the gene that is there throughout. So the gene therapy is a very good method to correct a gene defect, okay, in a child or in the embryo. Okay, and something happened. Yeah. Now you can see then where you insert this gene. Of course, it is there in the cell only, because DNA is located there in the nucleus of the cell. So in the nucleus, the DNA is there, and in whose body or whose cell or whose DNA is having this deficiency, yeah, this defect or this absence of this gene, there, what to do there? This gene has to be inserted. Okay, and most of the hereditary diseases, we can say that is due to gene only. And these hereditary diseases we can easily treat if you do the gene therapy there in the initial stage of their life. The initial stage of the life means that is there in the embryonic stage of the life or in the child itself. So if the genes are inserted, the defective genes are rectified, corrected, and inserted correct gene, then hereditary disease can be solved. Not only that, even if any non-functional genes are there in the body, that means genes are there, but that is not functional. That is not providing the correct function. The correct protein is not synthesized. Your body is what you can say, lack of some proteins. So in that case, you can find out that this gene is non-functional. So that non-functioning of the gene can be corrected. It can be compensated. So this is the advantage of gene therapy. So in this slide, we see what is gene therapy. That is, if any abnormality you notice because of a defective gene, or because of the absence of a gene, or because of what you can say, structural change in the gene, such a gene can be replaced today. Such genes can be altered today. And if any gene is not functioning because of the absence of the gene, then, or if any functioning or the production of any hormone or any pigment or something else you are noticing there because of the lack of the gene, that gene can be supplemented. And not only that, this can be done in the case of an embryo. In the embryonic stage itself, it can be done, or it can be done in a child. And once we insert the gene which is responsible for all this, the two problems can be solved. One, the hereditary diseases can be solved. That problem can be solved. That can be a treatment for hereditary diseases, because hereditary diseases, we know there is no medicine. It is continuous throughout the life, and it is transmitted to generation after generation also. But you can correct with the gene therapy. And moreover, if you observe that any gene which is non-functional, that gene can be rectified, that can be corrected. Now look at the picture over here. You can see then how the things are going on. Okay. Now you just see the steps over here. I don't know that is it clear to you because the picture is stretched here. Now just see there. Point number one, look at there. Point number one, if you can read. Can you read that what is written over there? So what is point number one? Yes. What is point number one? Cells are removed from the patient. Okay. Cells are removed from the patient. And after that, what we do? In the laboratory, a virus is altered so that it cannot reproduce. Then third point, look at there, a gene is inserted into the virus. Fourth point, look at there, the altered virus is mixed with the cells from the patient. And fifth point, look at there, the cells from the patient become genetically altered. Here you see any kind of change in the gene, that is hereditary. Because genetic alteration, genetic change. Okay. And then the altered cells are injected into the patient. And seventh point, the genetically altered cells produce the desired protein or hormone or whatever. So this is the way the gene therapy is functioning now. Okay, the genes in the cell can be altered. Okay, now look at the next point. Now, in this point, you can see one thing. Now you see the first clinical gene therapy. You just look at there. It was done recently only. Recently means according to you, you feel that 30 years back, but for me it is yesterday. So in 1990, the first gene therapy done in the world. And during that time, what they did, they noticed that girl who is just 4 years old. Now you see the picture photograph of that girl. And adenosine deaminase deficiency. Okay. That means here there is a deficiency. That means the gene is not there or gene is not functioning. Deficiency it is. That means particular what you can say that adenosine deaminase is not there. And the reason they said that is either due to deletion of gene. That means gene delete ho gaya. Means gene is not there. Okay. And this protein we can say that this is adenosine deaminase. This is a protein. I mean this is an enzyme. And this enzyme is very much essential for our immune system to function properly. But that girl is having no adenosine deaminase. That means her immune system is weak there. So what they did a treatment by bone marrow. Then they did bone marrow transplantation. But you see the result was not so effective because it is not curative. Because you know that bone marrow even in leukemia and all, you know that you have to keep on change it. Because there is no permanent cure you can notice there. So bone marrow transplantation, even enzyme replacement therapy, everything they have done, it was not functional. Then finally what they did, they inserted the gene which is responsible for this particular type of enzyme. They inserted this gene. And once they inserted this gene, they noted that this problem could be solved completely and permanently. Otherwise, bone marrow transplantation you have to do it frequently. Enzyme replacement therapy, if you do that also, you have to do frequently. But even that frequently you have to do because it is there is no complete cure. It is a hereditary disease like. So you can see that the person's gene could be changed or altered over there, and because of that clinical gene therapy, now you can see that the person is not suffering from this deficiency. And the name of that girl is that Ashanti De Silva. She is the first clinical gene therapy patient, and it is done during the year 1990. Okay. Now, you can see another important thing, how it can be done, how this gene therapy can be done. I think that this part is not there in the textbook, but still I say. So how it can be done? Now you just see that when the picture also you observe, you can see it very clearly. What to do there? From the blood of the patient, you have to collect the lymphocytes, and that lymphocytes you have to grow in a culture. And into that culture, what to do there? This ADA complementary DNA you have to insert. Remember, complementary DNA you have to insert because we are eukaryotes. In eukaryotes, you cannot take the DNA as it is because that is having introns. So that complementary DNA you have to take for this because that is obtained from the messenger RNA as we have seen earlier. So you take the lymphocytes and then into that lymphocytes you add this particular gene responsible for ADA, and that is complementary DNA only. And then after inserting this complementary DNA containing this ADA, then they return that cell to the patient. Okay, taken from the patient, and after making the arrangement, after manipulating, after making all structural rearrangement, what to do there? You have to return the lymphocytes into the patient. Okay, but in here there is a problem here. I mean, it has to be done repeatedly because lymphocytes, you know, that is not lifelong. So since it is immortal, I mean, what you can say, lifetime is short. Again, you have to repeat it. But if the ADA gene from the bone marrow cells are introduced in the cells at the early embryonic stage, this problem can be cured permanently. That is what I said in the case of a child. Even embryonic stage is better because the embryo is later becoming the child. So in the embryonic stage itself, if you could find out the problem and then you could rectify, or you could insert the gene which is responsible for that particular protein which is missing, then it could be a permanent cure. So this is what they have done in the year 1990. Okay, if you observe this picture, you can see that the cells have taken and all manipulations have been done, and finally that cell is returned to the patient with a modified gene. Okay, now the T lymphocytes. Then now the gene therapy. Now what it says that, see, if any disease, if you look at, we can notice that the genetic factor, that means you can say the genes or the DNA or the chromosome or whatever, the genetic factor, we can say, the whole thing sometimes responsible for the disease, sometimes partial part of this one is responsible for the disease. That means you know that we have 23 pairs of chromosomes. The whole 23 pairs of chromosomes responsible for the disease sometimes. That is what the genetic factor wholly. That means one chromosome itself is damaged. That means we are responsible. Or sometimes we can notice that one single gene of a chromosome may be responsible for the disease. So many diseases we can see here. Okay, in human body, we can see that so many diseases are there. And these diseases, we can say, that is connected with a particular gene of the chromosome or particular chromosome of a chromosome responsible for the disease. For example, you see cystic fibrosis. Cystic fibrosis means, you see, this is a disease you can see in the people or among the patients. We can notice in human body, we can say there what is happening there. The mucus is becoming very, very thick. So when the mucus is very thick, we can notice that the flow that may be stopped, that may be, that will be prevented over there. Now you see the thick, sticky mucus, it may block the airways in case of a lungs. Or in case of a glands, we can notice that if any such kind of mucus is there, that mucus may block that particular gland, that particular duct. You know that if when you have fever, you see that you have mucus there in the block, I mean in the nose. So when your nose is filled with mucus, thick mucus, you may find it difficult to breathe because airflow will not be there. So same way you can see that the mucus which is there in our body, if blocking any vessel, any duct, that is called a cystic fibrosis. That is called a cystic fibrosis. So what is the name I said? Cystic fibrosis. Now you can see that cystic fibrosis or this thickening of mucus is due to a gene which is located there on chromosome number 7. You see, you have 23 pairs of chromosome and all the chromosomes are numbered and arranged in a proper manner like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like that. And one chromosome is the 7-number chromosome. In that 7-number chromosome, there is a gene called CFTR gene. This gene is responsible for cystic fibrosis. Then another disease we know that is called hemophilia. The hemophilia is due to 2 factors. That is factor number 8. And if the problem is with the factor number 8, and that we can say hemophilia A. And there is another factor we can say factor 9, that is hemophilia B. And because of hemophilia, what happens if there is a wound, the blood will not get clotted and continues oozing out of the blood. Then there is another issue we can notice among the people, that is called a malfunctioning of the muscles. That is called muscular dystrophy. And muscular dystrophy, that means you just observe the picture over there, you can see they feel that their muscles are very weak and they cannot raise their hands, so their movement is very difficult. That is called muscular dystrophy. And this muscular dystrophy is due to that problem which is there on the X chromosome. Now you see there's the X chromosome. In the X chromosome, any mutation is occurring, and because of that reason, the muscles are not getting functioning properly. Okay, that is muscular dystrophy. Then these are the 3 diseases you have to remember. Okay, 3 diseases I said over there. Cystic fibrosis I said, then hemophilia I said, and then muscular dystrophy I said. Now we can see that the genetic disorder, genetic disease can be caused by a single gene defect also. That means earlier 3 diseases we have seen, that is because of the entire chromosome. The entire chromosome is responsible for that problem. But now we are going to see that the genetic disease may be due to one gene. If one gene is getting damaged, if one gene is defective, if only one gene, not the entire chromosome, not the entire DNA, then also it can be harmful. Then also you get a disease. Now look at the which disease you are getting. For example, sickle cell anemia. So in sickle cell anemia, you can notice that the abnormality is just a single gene over here. Look at over here. Can you see the single gene over here? What is written there? The single gene which is there in red color. T and A. Now look at the sequence. So if this is the sequence, that sequence is altered. The correct sequence, look at left side. Correct sequence is AT, GAG. That is the correct sequence. CTC. That is the correct sequence. But in this case, what happened? That A sequence has replaced it, inverted. That is got inverted. That has got inverted and became GTG and CAC. That means the AT that is inverted has become TA. That is the only difference. That is the only change happen over there. And this is why the sickle cell anemia you see there in people. So the people are facing sickle cell anemia only because of one single gene, not because of the entire chromosome. So here the genetic disease is due to a single gene defect. Now look at the second one. Second one you can say thalassemia. Okay, thalassemia, you already know what is the normal state. Normal state, you see how the red blood cells are. Now you see the person who is having thalassemia, you see how the red blood cells, you see the difference over there. So here you can see that the reason for this particular thalassemia is due to a change in the chromosome number, that is chromosome number 16 and chromosome number 11. There you can notice certain one gene defect. Okay, the beta globin gene cluster chromosome 11 and alpha globin gene cluster chromosome 16. These two genes are responsible for thalassemia. Okay, that means chromosome number 11 and chromosome number 16, in both you can see that certain genes are there. That gene is responsible for thalassemia. Okay, that means here also not the entire chromosome, only one gene is responsible. Now there is another disease that is called a Tay-Sachs disease. That means in this disease we can notice that the neurological deterioration taking place. Okay, starting at only 3 to 6 months age. But you can say the brain is not functioning properly, that neurological deterioration. And this is because of a gene located there on chromosome number 15. You see in chromosome number 15, between position 23 and 24, this is 23 position and this is 24 position. So between 23 and 24 position, there is a gene. There is a gene, that gene is called hexa gene. Name you have to remember. What is the name I said? Hexa gene. The hexa gene located on chromosome number 15 is responsible for Tay-Sachs disease. Again, one gene is responsible for the disease. Now another disease, you look at the cystic fibrosis. Abhi maine aapko baat kiya tha ye. Cystic fibrosis. That means because of the thick mucus, the duct got blocked. Again, this is due to a particular gene which is there on chromosome number 7. That is CFTR gene located here. Okay, so this is a single gene responsible for the cystic fibrosis. Okay, even another disease we can notice a Huntington's chorea. Huntington's chorea, we can notice that again, you can see that that is because of a gene located there on chromosome number 4. In chromosome number 4, you can see that there is a gene that is called HD gene. HD gene or STT gene that is responsible for this particular disease. Another disease we can notice a hemophilia. That is chromosome number 10. In chromosome number 10, we can notice that there are two genes that is responsible for hemophilia. Then there is another disease called alkaptonuria. Alkaptonuria, we can notice that the coloring, that means in the skin, and skin color, if you observe, you can see on the skin patches are appearing. Patches are appearing on the skin. Okay, and these patches we can say that is because of a defect there in the chromosome number 3. There is a gene that is defective there in chromosome number 3. Then another disease we can notice that albinism. You know it very well. Okay, skin color, the melanin pigment is not there. The melanin pigment is not there. The people are looking white, and this albinism is because of a particular gene which is there on chromosome number 11. Okay, so in chromosome number 11, this particular gene is located, and that gene is responsible for this disease. So in all these cases, what I said, one gene is responsible for the disease. So earlier we have seen the entire genome can be responsible, or a single gene also sometimes responsible for the disease. Okay, I hope that you are following me. Are you following it? Okay. Now, my question is that I know that many things which are not there in your textbook, many things in the sense the disease is given, but which chromosome is responsible, that is not given. If you want, when I post this PowerPoint there in the classroom, from there you can download it. Okay. Now the thing is that how the gene therapy can be used. The ways of gene therapy being used, how to use it. There are so many areas given in the textbook. Then no explanation, they just made the sentences there. Which are the way or where, which are the areas where you can use this gene therapy now. Now you can see that you know that when people are getting cancer, actually it is tumor, the cells are keep on multiplying without any control. So in such case, what we can do, we can go for gene therapy. And in gene therapy, what they do, they deliver genes that speed the destruction of cancerous cells. Because once one cancer cell is there in the body, it multiplies so quickly and the number of cancer cells increases, that results in tumor. And such cancerous cells can be easily destructed and with the help of gene therapy. That is one way. Second way is that means we are supplying genes. We can provide genes and they will find out the cancer causing cells, and then that cancer causing cells to they will bring back or they will revert back the cancerous cells to normal cells, because normal cell is becoming cancerous cell due to abnormality. So we can supply gene and that gene can bring back the cancerous cells to normal cells. First thing we have seen, we can provide gene and that gene can speed up the destruction of cancerous cells. Second way, we have seen that we can supply gene that will find out the cancerous cells, and such cancerous cells will be brought back to the normal cells. Okay. And third thing we can notice that some genes we can provide, that means especially bacterial or viral gene, we can supply as a vaccine. Already we have seen that as a vaccine we can provide bacterial or viral genes. So these are the various areas where gene therapy we are using. Only 3 points you have seen. Now the next point is that so we can deliver DNA for antigen expression. That means for immunity, we want to increase our immunity, immune power, and for that also we can provide gene. Okay, our immune system will get improved. And another area we can notice that we can supply gene for impairing viral replication. That means you know that how the virus is functioning in our body. Once one virus is entering into our body, the virus will become very active and it multiplies very quickly. It divides very fast. And this multiplication can be arrested, can be impaired by supply of gene. And another thing is that we can provide genes that is promoting the growth of new tissues. Okay, promoting the growth of the new tissues, or even the growth of new tissues can be stopped. That means depends upon the situation you want. If you want to arrest the growth, you can do that, or if you want to promote growth, you can do that. So you can provide genes for that. Then Even in some of the tissue got damaged, you want to heal them and you want to stimulate the healing, especially the people who are suffering from diabetes. If there is any wound in their body, it cannot be healed. It will be very, very slow. But in such case, we can provide genes that can stimulate the healing of damaged tissues. And the last one, any defective gene in our body, any missing gene in our body, it can be replaced. So all these 8 points we have seen over here, this is saying its application. Gene therapy uses, gene therapy application, whichever areas gene therapy can be used, whichever areas the gene therapy is useful now. This is what you see there in these 8 points. I don't have any pictures over here to explain the things. So just the statement they're given there in the textbook, that is sufficient for you. And how you can provide the gene into your cells. This area is given in your textbook. I mean, in textbook, in the box, it is given how the genes can be delivered into the cells. We have different methods. Basically, 3 methods are there. The first method is called as ex vivo method. The first method is that ex vivo method. Ex vivo method means what to do. You just see the picture over here. When you look at the picture, you will get an idea. That is, you remove the cell from the patient. First, look at it. What is this ex vivo method? You remove the cell. This is the patient. From this patient, you have to remove the cell. And into that cell, you have to insert the gene. Now, you see, this is the gene you are going to insert. And that gene you have to insert into the cell. And after that, you have to transfer that one into the patient itself. That means removing the cell from the patient, all alteration, making arrangement, introducing the gene, everything you are doing outside or in the lab you are doing. Okay, that means whenever the gene transfer, you are always doing with a vector only. It can be a viral vector or it can be a non-viral vector. So by using the help of a vector, you are transferring the gene into the cell, and after that, the cell is returned to the patient. But the entire process is taking place there in the lab. That is why it is called ex vivo. So, for example, Parkinson's disease. For Parkinson's disease, we are doing this method only. Okay, you are taking the cell from the patient, and in the lab, we are making all manipulations, and the cells are getting altered, and after that, the modified cell is returned to the cell, injected back into the patient. Okay, so that is called ex vivo. Second method is that in vivo. In vivo means very simple. You are doing all things outside and then directly entering into the patient. I mean, inserting into the patient. That means you are preparing the gene outside, the corrected gene or the new gene that is prepared outside, that is called therapeutic gene. And that therapeutic gene, you are that means that is a desirable gene which you got from outside, maybe constructed or whatever it is. And that gene is directly injected into the cell or into the tissue of the patient. That is called in vivo. In ex vivo, we said that if a patient is suffering from a disease, you have to remove that cell. You take the cell out of the patient. Then after that, do all manipulations there in the lab, and again injected back or inserted back that cell into the patient. But in vivo, we are not going to take any cell from cell from the patient. You are preparing the therapeutic gene and inserting that therapeutic gene into the tissue of the patient directly. Okay, and this is done normally there in cancer. That means intravenous infusion genes to treat cancer. That means it is given directly into the patient. Okay, and there is a third method that is called one is we are using the virosome. Okay, the inactivated HIV and liposome combine and then that is transferred, or certain bionic chips we can insert into the patient. So this way some chips can be inserted and this way we can insert that particular gene into the patient. So three different ways are there to deliver the gene into the cell of the patient. Either you do it by ex vivo, in that you have to take the cell out and then you have to do manipulation, then insert and put it back. Second is that in vivo. In vivo, you are directly inserting the therapeutic gene into the patient's tissue or cell. Third one is that some other simple method like use of bionic chips or virosomes. Boring? Then forms of gene therapy. There are two types of gene therapy. Two types of gene therapy is there. One is called germline gene therapy. In that, what you do there, when the egg and sperm getting fused, there itself you are making these changes. That means in the embryonic stage itself, you are making the alterations. And that is also very simple. If any patient is there, I mean the couple, their patient. So what we do there, we will take their cell out. Okay, that means the fertilized the zygote or the embryo, not even zygote only we can say. The zygote we are taking out. And in the zygote, the DNA is there. That unhealthy, that particular healthy DNA, we are removing and that is transferred into another cell. And then it is in what you can say, the processing is done. So we can see that in human embryos, we can do this gene therapy. So if you are doing gene therapy in human embryos, that is called germline cell therapy. This is very much good or useful because once you do there in the initial stage, whatever cells they have in the future, in all the cells, we can say this gene will be there. Not only a targeted single cell, in all the cells, you can see that even how many cells are formed in all the cells, we can say it is there. And so the germline cell gene therapy is very much useful. And because you see this point, because since it is there in all the cells, it can be transmitted from generation to generation. And at the same time, it is highly effective. So these two things are very positive. One, you can see that the transmission is taking place from generation to generation because it is there in all the cells. And second thing is it is highly effective, but it is not encouraged by the government. So germline gene therapy is not encouraged, okay, but it is more effective than the second method. The second form is that is called a somatic cell gene therapy. Somatic cell gene therapy means, as we have said before, take any cell which is causing that, means which is affected. You take any somatic cell which is affected and treat with that cell. Okay, that means here the gene is introduced there in somatic cells only, not in generative cell, not in embryonic cell, not in zygotic cell. It is introduced there in somatic cells. But here the disadvantage is that it cannot be transmitted from generation to generation because this alteration is done there in somatic cells. And so it affects only the person on whom this treatment has been done. So it is not, we can see that it is not transmitting generation to generation. But this is a very good option. Okay, it is a feasible option for acquired disorders. Okay, so we can see that this way the gene therapy can be done. That means either through germline cell therapy or through somatic gene therapy, we can do this gene therapy. Okay, and somatic cell gene therapy is mostly done for bone marrow cells. Okay, commonly used in bone marrow cells or neural cells or hepatocytes. And these are the various diseases and various recombinant proteins. This is already given in your textbook. You have to go through it. These are the so many diseases are there. And nowadays, recombinant proteins are also available for these diseases. These are the recombinant proteins. Okay, at this topic, I'm stopping. So I'm going to stop it over here. We have done the gene therapy today. Examination point of view, this is important. Please go through this particular part, that is part 3. You please read your textbook today itself. If you are not reading your textbook, you will not get the continuity and you will forget the things what I said. Okay, and slide also now itself I will post there in the classroom. You can get it from there. Okay, so tomorrow we will go for a poll, 10-question poll we will do tomorrow. So prepare yourself for that. Okay. Anything you want to say? Otherwise, I'll stop the lecture over here.